and we're going to go ahead and start off the beaten path to rethink your career. Many of us kind of sometimes feel like, oh, is this all? We're kind of stuck in our career. We don't really know where we're headed. We don't really see any opportunities ahead, and don't quite know, don't quite fit. You really don't know where we're going from here. So we're going to use this seminar today to uncover some of those tools that have certainly helped me throughout this time as I'm trying to find my path. Now, part of the survey that you took earlier, we were looking at what industry it is that you might be looking for a career in. And I'd love to take a look at those survey results just real quick so that we can kind of arrange ourselves. Lorelei, do we have those? Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. We have a number of individuals in nonprofit and tech and information, as well as hospitality. So this is going to be a really good opportunity to talk about that. Now, of course, my path has been primarily science, healthcare, but it's definitely not been a straightforward path. Like Lorelei mentioned, I have the PhD, but then I'm not really working as a bench scientist. I find myself through a number of different pathways that I find myself in a position where I am the one that's helping others to find resources, to find opportunities. And I kind of straddle the sciences, technology, healthcare, and business environment. And to me, that is a fun and interesting fit. It's certainly not been a straightforward path. And as you are rethinking your career, I want you to think about not what you should do next, but really what is it that you want to do? Because it's a really important thing for you to understand that the career you're taking is yours. This is your decision. This is really trying to understand what you want to do. And for that, I personally have found it incredibly valuable to forget what others told me to do. One of the things that wasn't on the slide of the things that I have done is that it didn't show the associate's degree from St. Louis Community College. When I was growing up, I was told, why do you even want to be educated? Why do you, higher education isn't for people like us. Just go ahead, get a job in retail. You're just gonna get married and have children anyway. That is a lot to forget. But I had to do that in order to really kind of figure out my path. And so what I want you to do is dig deep. How much of what you're doing now, where you are right now, is because of you wanting to be there? And how much of it is because that's just what your family does? Maybe you've grown up in a family of lawyers or physicians, and people are just working in that arena, and that's what you know, and so that's what you ended up doing. Or you took a particular academic path and are really kind of stuck, whether that kind of leads you down a particular road, and now you're looking for, well, what else is possible with this? So forget what the influences that have really forced you maybe down a particular path, and try to find your own way. To really know though what's going to work for you, we kind of need to know ourselves. So let's go ahead and start digging deeply into what opportunities are out there and who you are. Let's do some self-analysis. Now, I've heard a lot about find your passion, and it's for many years kind of stymied me. I don't have this one singular passion that overrides everything else. I have a number of different interests. I'm very interested in sciences and technology, obviously. I'm also interested in healthcare and how it impacts society. I am very interested in business and how that works to help or hinder our society. I'm very interested in helping other people achieve their goals. Those are a lot of different interests. I just don't have that one singular passion. If that's what you have, well, that's great. But if you have 4 or 5 different interests, go ahead and write those down. And don't feel bad about not having that one thing, because in the end, if you find something that is extremely interesting to you, spikes your curiosity, and something you really want to stay engaged with, that's a great thing to follow. What impact do you want to have? Maybe you want to impact, maybe your impact is in social initiatives or in equity overall. Maybe your impact is that you want to be able to provide the best information, the best facts in order for others to make decisions, or to yourself make certain decisions. What defines success for you? Is success having that specific title, or is success having a specific impact on others? So maybe you are extremely interested in environmental issues, and success is defined by making an impact and preserving a particular habitat for a certain species. Also dig deep into what your values are. Do you value monetary rewards? Do you value having free time or the flexibility? Do you very much value being creative? There is not a wrong answer to this, but it has to be your answer, and you have to be very honest with yourself, because if you end up in a position where you find that, yes, you're making a lot of money, but you're having very little flexibility, you don't really have a supportive environment, you're going to have a hard time being very, very happy with that, within that position. So some of us may be very familiar with SWOT analysis as it pertains to businesses. SWOT is an analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and yes, very frequently used in the business environment. I want you to use that for yourself. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? What are some opportunities and some threats that are around you and your career? And when it comes to finding your strengths and weaknesses, there are a ton of tools out online, as well as in book format available through Half Price Books or various other outlets. One of the more popular ones is Prentice Hall's Self-Assessment Library. Look at your characteristics, look at your needs, look at your motivations and your skills. So if you need, and this is actually a big one that I didn't realize how important it really was in finding the right career. That is, how much certainty do you need? Because if you are very uncomfortable with uncertainty, then a position in a larger corporation with a little bit more structure, or a lot more structure, may be more suited than a position in a startup company where you're not really quite sure where the company is headed, and you may be pivoting on a dime in a month from now. And so understand how much uncertainty you are comfortable with and what motivates you. Do you need to be part of a larger team? Do you need to be part of a group of people that works very closely together? Or do you work very well with external motivations, people just giving you deadlines, and that works really well for you? Dig deep. But when you take these self-assessments, I have noticed that, as objective as they claim to be, if you're a really good test taker, you can sometimes figure out how that answer is going to influence the overall outcome, and you want to feel good about yourself. Well, I'd encourage you to be as objective as you can possibly be, because you need to know who you are in order to find that position that really, really works for you. And then also try to gather feedback from friends and family, former or current coworkers, mentors, etc. Ask them about, what do you think my strengths are? What do you think my weaknesses are? You can do that either in a conversational setting and just say, hey, I am thinking about changing a few things, and I'm trying to really get a handle on who I am, where I'm going, and what may be some things that I can really take advantage of, and what may be some other things that I'm a little bit weaker in. Or you could do this anonymously and send a link to individuals and say, just Just tell me, what do you really think? What do you think my skills are? Are there some things that, that I am doing that may not be beneficial? Are there some things that I'm doing really well that maybe I don't really understand how much better I do them than other people do? Pay attention, some attention to your skills, but your soft skills as well as your hard skills. Divide those out. When it comes to your hard skills, I mean, oftentimes those are your technical skills, right? So in the sciences, doing a lot of bench work, I knew how to do a Western blot. You don't need to know what that is. It is no longer important for my work at all to be able to detect protein on a membrane and the size of the protein. So those are skills that you can, that oftentimes jobs will teach you. When it comes to the soft skills, they are much different. They are the ones, how well do you listen to others? How well do you interact with a team? Kind of the emotional intelligence side of things. Now, oftentimes what they'll say is, oh, hard skills are teachable, soft skills not so much. Well, I would disagree. I think soft skills are very much teachable, but you have to kind of figure them out yourself. You have to be understanding yourself really, really well and improve yourself little by little. If you find some areas where you'd like to be a little bit more skilled. So as you're going through that, keep an open mind and just sit back and step back from yourself and look at yourself objectively as best as you can. Now, opportunities and threats are oftentimes things that we think of from the external environment. Well, what are some external threats in the industry that I may be in? Maybe I am in a non-profit environment, and funding issues are always very, very prevalent there. How do I make sure that my company, that my mission really is going to be supported? So there's some external things you want to look at, opportunities as well as threats. But then I'd also like for you to take a look at internal opportunities and threats. And that was a big thing for me, really understanding that I had some threats internally. I was holding myself back because I didn't quite believe that I could be where I am today. I mean, and I had to work on that. I had to overcome those. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those tricks and tips on how to really be facing those internal threats and working through them. But then there's also opportunities, and you really want to make sure you understand your opportunities. What is it that's about you that is unique, that you can really utilize? Now, well, after you've sat down and evaluated all the characteristics and your skills, what impact you want to have, the needs that you need to have fulfilled in your job, and what motivates you, after you really understand yourself, sit with it a little bit and prioritize what may be the most important things, because chances are you're not necessarily going to find the next job that has exactly the impact you want, that has exactly the successes placed to all of your motivations and interests. So kind of figure out what it is that would work best for you. And keep in mind that, you know, there's no wrong need. There is no wrong career choice. There's no wrong impact or definition of success. You get to define this for yourself. Nobody has ever lived your life before. So this is really a great opportunity for you to just say, well, this is who I am. I am comfortable with who I am. And I'm comfortable with driving my career the way where I want to see it. And I'm going to own it, and I'm going to do it. So now that we know ourselves a little bit better and we have an idea of what's important to us, it's time to figure out where we might want to end up, because in the end, you won't get there if you don't know where it is that you're going. So you go ahead, let's go ahead and do some research. And hold on. are a lot of resources out there. Some of them, of course, are online. And maybe it is that you're saying, you know what, I really want to work for a company that has a huge social impact. I want to work for the Gates Foundation. And that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and go online, do the research and figure out all the different arenas that they work in. Or you might want to work for Apple. Go in and, you know, do the research. There's so many different resources out there, people who've worked there, people who currently work there through, look at LinkedIn, look at Indeed.com, but also go to professional journals. If you want to be in a particular industry, those professional journals oftentimes have sections in them that either talk about individuals currently working in them to kind of give you a glance at what their path has been, but then also what their job is currently. And oftentimes they also have job descriptions in the end, in the back part of the magazine. And you can kind of see what opportunities are open, what things, what skills people are looking to fill. And then, of course, networking. Networking is always a big thing. It is something, being trained as a scientist, I did not believe networking was going to be all that important, but it is. My data doesn't speak for itself, unlike what I believed as when going through the PhD program. I have to speak for myself, I have to speak for my data, and I have to make the connections. So when we're talking about networking in respect to researching your opportunities, though, I'm talking very much about going to interest groups, going to professional networking groups such as HERdacity. Actually, I've really enjoyed a number of their networking opportunities that have not so much introduced me to individuals who are doing what I want to do, but who are doing other things that I find extremely interesting and who, yes, on occasion, afford the opportunity to find some collaborative potential between them and other people that I'm working with. And then it's also networking at conferences. Maybe there is a huge conference, you're interested in health and fitness. There is a health and fitness conference. Go there, kind of talk to the people. What is it that they're doing within this industry? What are the challenges that they're facing, and where's the industry going to be headed? What are, again, your threats and opportunities within that industry? Talk to individuals who are working in the field, talk to individuals who are working outside the field. So do take a look at that. You'll actually probably see a poll that has popped up on the bottom of your screen, if not right in front of your screen. Think about how many years you still have left in your career, right? For me, when I looked at that, there were a lot of, I have 25 years left very easily in my career. So I still have a lot of opportunity to find a lot of different interesting areas to have an impact in, to explore and to see where I'm going with that. Now, when it comes to your interest areas and where you're going with that, I have given a lot of talks in front of students in the STEM arena. So these are graduate students trying to figure out where they're going to fall. And the fact is, especially in STEM, there are jobs everywhere, right? So whether that is government or education, whether that is healthcare or sales, right? There's innovation that is possible, those are opportunities for STEM graduates. Well, the same goes for individuals who are really interested in finance. If you're really interested in finance, you can do that in a healthcare environment, you can do that in a research environment, you can do that for a small business, or you can have your impact in a nonprofit, right? So when you are looking at your interests, kind of see whether there are a couple different ones that you can combine in your next career option. And then I want you to do the fun part. And that is be completely and absolutely outrageous. A couple months ago, I started to meditate and write a journal every morning. And this journal, this notebook that I'm using, is something that I've carried with me for 20 plus years. I had it well before I ever started on my career, before I ever graduated from high school. And as I was journaling, I finished and I was flipping through some of those pages and I came across a poem I wrote many, many years back. And the poem ended with, "When my dreams become my goals, my will can move mountains." So what I want you to do when you're thinking about your dream career is dream big. Because without that big dream, you're settling on a goal. Have a big goal and work hard to get there. So when you're, let's take a look at the survey results of how many years you have left in building your plan. Okay, so there's a good, the majority are 16 years or more. So that's well over 50%, and then there's a fair number of individuals in the 11 to 15 year range as well. So really, you have a lot of time left, and even if you only have a couple years left before you think you either want to be at your dream goal or you are ready for retirement, go ahead and build a plan. Set your dream goal for however many years from now that you think you can still have and to achieve that goal. And then I want you to go ahead and go back from there and build some sub goals. Okay, well, if in 20 years, I want to be running an organization that is helping entrepreneurs. And I want this to be, I want this to be this beautiful organization that's incredibly impactful. Well, what kind of steps are going to get me on the right path? Now, keep in mind, it's unlikely to be just one step, one path. There are very few careers where it has to go from point A to point B to point C. Most of the time, what I see, certainly in entrepreneurship, is that people have picked up resources and build on their strengths and built their network in a variety of different ways, and that has really opened up their mind to different ways of thinking. And they're bringing all of that as they're building their career. And as you're looking at this, as you're building your plan, I want you to focus on fostering your strengths and enhancing your opportunities. Yes, we all have weaknesses, but if you're spending 80% of your time improving your weaknesses, well, you don't have a whole lot of time playing to your strengths. I want you to flip that around. I want you to spend 80% of your time on positions that are fostering your strengths, and pay attention as you're looking for that next opportunity. Pay attention to look for something that will play to your strengths, because you're going to be feeling much better about that position, and others are going to recognize that. You're going to get more opportunities, and you're going to make a lot more progress than if you're just focusing or primarily focusing on your weaknesses. When it comes to your weaknesses, see if there's opportunities to bring in additional people whose strengths complement your weaknesses, so that you can team tag, everybody gets to use their strengths, and you're going to be driving forward a lot better and a lot quicker. Now, when it comes to mitigating threats, again, it's not as important, in my opinion, as enhancing your opportunities. Find the opportunities, work with them, grow them, and find collaborators to work with you on that. When it comes to mitigating threats, however, be aware of them. And yes, potentially have some, keep in mind that maybe you may need to pivot, maybe have a contingency plan, but don't overthink it. Don't use all of your energy up on the negative ends. Use your energy mostly towards your strengths and opportunities, and it'll drive you a lot quicker and a lot further. So now that we have a plan, it is time to start executing the plan. And how do we go about that? There's a number of different opportunities we have. Of course, the networking and informational interviews, which was something that I was completely new to when I started on the MBA, but that I have found to be a very, very powerful tool. Job listings, of course, are available for you to kind of do some research and figure out what things are there. Internships, depending on your career, depending on where you are in your career, may still be an option. Shadowing may also still be an option, but oftentimes that is more towards individuals who have barely started on their career. And so we're not going to talk very much about that. We're going to be talking a lot more about networking, what it is and why you do it and where you do it. So networking is not so much about you just going off and selling yourself. Networking is really about understanding others. It's, yes, you need to be able to talk, have an elevator pitch, talk about yourself. But it is also you getting to know others. You getting to know what they do, expanding your horizon on what opportunities are out there. Because oftentimes, you'll find that different jobs may intersect, that people have taken incredibly interesting paths to get where they are at now that may give you some different ideas. You're really doing this in order to build relationships with others. It's not necessarily you just getting your next job. It's also you finding that collaborator where together you can build a much bigger, much better program. It is also maybe you finding that employee or that person to work with that can really enhance your work because they play very well toward into your helping your weaknesses or covering your weaknesses because their strengths are very much something that you need assistance with. And when you go into these networking events, have questions ready, be interested in things that other people are doing. Now, when it comes to the where, I network just about anywhere I go, whether that is at the gym or whether that is at a professional event. There are a number of different opportunities. Maybe it's your kid's soccer game. Talk to others and kind of find out where they're at, what they're all about. And one of the things to keep in mind, and this is, again, something that became very apparent as I was working to understand myself better. When it comes to large networking opportunities, oftentimes you're in a large room with a lot of people, everybody's talking, it's really noisy. Well, I had to learn that I am an ambivert. Yes, I can play the extrovert for a short little bit of time, but I'm also very sensitive to noise. So after about an hour or an hour and a half of being in such a noisy place, I am unable to focus on the individual that I'm talking to. Well, that's not very conducive to networking. So what I found I'll do is I have my cards ready. I'll exchange cards, take a quick note about what the other person is all about. And I say, you know what? I'd love to talk to you in much more depth. I'll reach out to you with an email. Let's find some time for us to have coffee. And so then afterwards, I'll go home and I go and send that email. Most of the time, they'll be more than happy to meet for half an hour or an hour and just kind of catch up in a much more quiet place. Again, you have to understand what works for you in order to do that, right? And so that's why that earlier piece, that hard work of really uncovering who you are, is going to be so helpful in this. And then here come the informational interviews, and that actually kind of works in conjunction with the networking. Informational interviews are not for you to interview for a position. Informational interviews are for you to interview somebody who's doing a job that you're very interested in, or working in an industry, or working for a company you are very interested in working for. And I have just reached out, sent a quick email, hey, do you have 15 or 20 minutes? I would love to find out more about you. 90% of people are very happy to talk to you about themselves, about their path, about what makes their work enjoyable and what they might not like so much about it. And when they say, yeah, sure, I'd be more than happy to meet, have questions ready. have questions ready that help you to actually understand their job, how they got there, and what that particular company or industry is like, because you're going to need to then sit down and evaluate the information that you gathered through the informational interview and see how that meshes with your skills and your interests and your motivations. And it's actually quite amazing what all you can find out through that. Now, there are some additional tools when it comes to finding your dream career. One of them is positive thinking, then of course tenacity, and as well as luck. Now, positive thinking is something that, again, I came up as a scientist. This is, you know, it's this soft thing, I don't know. Well, then I started on my MBA and I was presented with research articles that very much said that positive thinking helps. There are reports of students writing an achievement journal, just one, two, or three specific things at the end of every day of things that they have done, that they have achieved, that they have caused a positive outcome in, or specific things that they are grateful for. Now, these are very specific. These are not, yeah, well, you know, I kind of, you know, had a good day today. It's very specific. I really enjoyed the conversation that I had, and I am grateful for this person to share their knowledge with me. Or the project that I started off that I suggested has made a huge impact in my company. Think about those things and write them down. I literally still do it. I have a little jar sitting next to my bed, and in the evening I write down a couple things of things that I have done today or things that I am grateful for, and the piece of paper goes into my little jar. On days when I'm not feeling so good, those are good days to take out a piece of paper and read through it and go, yeah, that's right. That's happened just a few weeks ago. And then also, as you're getting ready to interview for specific jobs, envision yourself in that role. Now, maybe I'm crazy, but yes, before I go into interviews, I am talking to myself and I am thinking myself into that role. I am that person who is going to have that job. It changes the way you answer questions during the interview. And it has, at least for me, it takes me off the defensive in that particular situation. Try it out, see if it works for you. Now, with all of these things, these are things that have worked for me. They may or may not work for you. But if it does work, use it. If it doesn't, find something that does work for you. I've also found that tenacity is oftentimes more important than skill, than knowledge. Just the willingness to reach really high, persist in going for that goal, because there's always going to be people who say, nah, you can't do that, no, that's too difficult. We've never done it that way. Reach high, be persistent, but also be patient. And relax. You don't have to do this today. Remember, we just looked at that we still have quite a bit of time to achieve our ultimate goal. And so when there are things that happen in your life that kind of draw your attention away from that, that's okay. Just get right back to it when you can. Don't be too hard on yourself, because that's not going to be helpful in the long run either. And then luck. Now, I've heard people say, I have worked really hard for everything in my life. There's no luck about it. Well, I was very lucky to be born in a very safe country, to have great education. That's not something that everybody has. But when it really comes to luck in your career search, it's to be the right person and to know the right person at the right time for you to be presented with some great opportunities. But the key here is to really be prepared as well. Do the work, do the digging, so that you can even recognize the great opportunities and recognize the people that you can be working with to help each other out. In the end, this is your career, this is your choice. And I hope you'll find that star that sits right in the middle of something that interests you, that keeps you going, that keeps you entertained and engaged, something that's rewarding for you, and something that has the impact that really drives you. It is your career. Your choice is going to look very different from that of anybody else, and you have to You have to own it. You have to make this happen, and it is within your ability to make this happen. Now, there have been a lot of people along the way that have mentored me, that have taught me, that have helped me through. And I am eternally grateful for those. Yes, this is my career. Yes, this is my choice. But you always will walk with companions. And so I wish you a lot of really good luck. I hope I've shared some tools that are helpful for you as you're getting on this journey. And I'm always happy to answer any questions now or later if you would prefer that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Verena. And now is the time to ask Dr. Kallhoff some questions. So a little bit of housekeeping. At the bottom of your screen, there are two little buttons. There's a Q&A button and a chat feature. Send your questions to Dr. Kallhoff and we will ask them right now, okay? So I so loved that you had to push past a story that somebody told you about how your life was supposed to be. Somebody else's expectations that were put on you about the type of job you should have and how you should live your life. How did you go about transitioning away from that story that somebody told you was your life to making your dreams and your goals a reality?
It was a really, really long path, as you may be able to imagine, and there were events across along the way. Now, my temperament is that I don't want to believe people who are just telling me negative things. And that was really, really helpful in that particular instance, that I was able to say, hey, you guys are saying this, but there's this one person over here who's saying something positive and something different. So let me just listen to them and see what I can make happen. I was in a situation that wasn't particularly supportive. I extracted myself. I went away. Now, this was right after high school. And just said, I'm going to take a year time out, and ended up with a lot of people around me who said, hey, just give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? But it was a really long process. And I think these journeys are incredibly individual, but you have to want to look for something else. And you have to just say, I don't believe you. I'm going to listen to myself, and I'm going to listen to other people who are more supportive and more aligned with what I think I want.
Okay, I love that. So you kind of mentioned, you know, how when we set goals and we remind ourselves of our successes, we end up being a little bit more happier and a little more fulfilled and a little bit more successful. And I think the data does show that when people set goals for themselves, they're more likely to achieve them statistically. And I'm so glad that you asked our audience to set some goals for yourself. And people who are watching, I really hope you did write down some goals and maybe a few year marks next to them as far as how long you think it'll take you to get there. Somebody wants to know, Verena, what your big dream is, if you're willing to share that with us.
You know, my big dream is really, I kind of touched on that. Right now, we are working to build a health innovation ecosystem in Austin. And what my big dream goal would be is to have that vibrant ecosystem that provides education for people who are thinking about entrepreneurship but aren't quite sure what it pertains, and really having a robust opportunity, a coral reef really, for people to foster their ideas, kind of try them out and grow them and have the right resources and really have that vibrancy that brings out health innovation, health equity innovation, that'll help all of us build a better and much more healthy society.
I love that. And golly, do we need more effective health systems within our country and beyond. So yeah, thank you for the hard work you're doing there.
Well, thank you.
So
one thing I wanted to mention about goals is don't overwhelm yourself. Yes, I want you to dream big, but also be very reasonable and smart about picking goals that are that have a much shorter time frame, right?
Okay.
I mean, you're setting a dream goal for a while out, but don't you know, don't think and don't force yourself, oh, I must be achieving this by the end of the year. Things happen, life happens. It's not always your plan is great, but you don't know what happens within your family. You know, there are ways to set goals that inspire you without being too overwhelming.
Got it. All right. So that be kind and give yourself grace, ladies. Give yourself some grace. So
that's a good way of putting it. Thank you, Lorelai.
So previously you mentioned to ask for feedback, and that is incredibly impactful tool, because when you're asking people that know you best, they can give you hopefully honest answers that maybe you're too close to see about yourself. So one of our viewers wants to know, what is a website or an app that you've used as a tool like this, or do you have any recommendations on how to go about requesting this sort of feedback?
So I have used SurveyMonkey in the past, and I'm pretty sure it allows you to gather anonymous feedback. Maybe it'll give you the web address or the computer address, but you're unlikely to really know which IP address is associated with your mom versus your best friend. So SurveyMonkey is a good tool, and that one's, I'm pretty sure, free, and there may be some tools out there.
Yes, the SurveyMonkey is free up to 10 questions.
Perfect.
I also have used, for those of you who use Google, like have a Google account
Forms,
or a Gmail, yes, Google Forms has a free survey tool as well. And there are a few others out there. You can just type in free survey. So I have also asked through text messaging. I just asked like an open-ended question to a few trusted professionals and colleagues and friends. What do you think my greatest whatever is? You know, greatest blank, my weakest blank is. And, you know, tell them tell your friends and your family and your colleagues what you're trying to do, and ask for full transparency, ask for honesty. And people are very much, it's kind of like you said, people want to tell you both about yourself and about other things. And I think most people are willing to share with you how they feel about you, and they're probably going to tell you good things. So be open to hearing good things about yourself. That's really important, ladies, because we are often kind of told to believe the bad things first.
Well, that's true, and those are really the strengths that you want to play to. If your friends and family tell you, you know, you are somebody that we trust to go to have conversations with and to get feedback, play to that, get those opportunities that will take advantage of that. Or if they tell you, if I need analysis on anything and I want an objective feedback, those are your strengths that you want to take advantage of as you're looking for that next opportunity.
Yes. And do look for opportunities everywhere you go. Look under every rock you're around, because they will just show up out of the blue. Because if you're putting out to the universe that you want something and you're really working on it, the universe is going to find a way to drop something in your lap if you're paying attention. And I am a firm believer that these things happen. So,
oh, absolutely. You want to hear a crazy story?
Yes, of course we do.
So one of my classmates from the PhD program, very few of us are really working at the bench anymore. This individual had gone to the NIH to do some more bench research, but he was also part of a soccer league. And one of the individuals within that soccer league, a cab driver, came to him and said, you know what? This other buddy of mine is looking for a quality assurance analyst. That's science. That's it, up in your alley. Well, my friend was like, oh, I don't know. I'll take a look at it. It turned out to be the perfect position for him.
Oh, that's wonderful. Verena, Joyce says that she uses her gratitude jar every day, and that
awesome.
things are very memorable for her, and it keeps her going. So thank you for all these wonderful tools and tips and actionable items that we can put into play and practice every day. I hope you took great notes, folks, and you start putting your goals down on paper. You start making your dreams a reality. And I love the poem that you shared with us, that little excerpt, when dreams become goals, they will move mountains. I I hope that each and every one of you goes out and moves some mountains, because we all have the power and the ability to do that. And that is why HERdacity is here. We're here to help you move mountains, however big or small that you want to move. We're here to help you do that. So on behalf of HERdacity, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Dr. Kallhoff, thank you so much for your expertise today and your passion. I think we all got a lot out of it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorelei. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that HERdacity just published a little PDF to write down your goals and write down your inspirations for this year. So if you haven't found it online yet, please go ahead and print it out and work it through.
Yes.
It's hard work, but without it, you're kind of stuck. So this work is really what's going to get you unstuck, and it's really what's going to drive you. And so many, I'm so grateful for HERdacity to be able to be here and provide us with the tools to do that. Thank you.
I appreciate you plugging us, Dr. Kallhoff. She's right. On our blog, check out our website, HERdacity.org. On our recent blog post, we have a 2020 vision board. You can download the PDF. And if you're a visual person, there's a visual option. And if you're more you want to write things down and have like bullet points and lists, kind of like me, you can have that option as well. Start your vision for 2020 and beyond, and make it what you want. From HERdacity, I'm Lorelei. I look forward to seeing you next month. Check out our website for future events coming up. We are here for you. Till next time. Thank you, Dr. Kallhoff.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining us today.